On the morning of August 17, 2018, I received a thought message from Guanyin Bodhisattva and Dharma protecting bodhisattvas. It was that due to the bad habits of people in the human realm these days, and their failure to understand the law of cause and effect in Buddhism, there are many offenders and slanderers. As a result, bodhisattvas frequently conveyed scenes from various hells to me, in the hope that I can tell the disciples and practitioners of Guanyin Siddha. You must have firm faith in your master, and refrain from reading those defamatory articles or remarks. All disciples should stay united, care for one another, and promote Guanyin Siddha Dharma Door. Do not let those unfounded statements waver your faith and your aspiration to practice Buddhism and attain the way. In this age of Dharma decline, there are many people still indulging in all kinds of worldly pleasures, such as eating, drinking, and having fun. As disciples, you should be diligent in your spiritual cultivation, listen to your master's radio program, and read the Buddhism in plain terms. The latter is especially important as it will help you to get enlightened and overcome many troubles and demonic obstacles. Your master has truly been through a lot, so you should take your master's advice. For those who earnestly study and practice Guanyin Siddha Dharma Door, whether they are lay practitioners or disciples, bodhisattvas regard them as Buddhist disciples. The scenes of hell 1, those who defame Buddhism and use abusive speech will fall into this hell. This hell is full of souls. The sky above the cave is pitch dark, but things appear entirely different below. A red-hot river flows through this hell, but what is flowing in the river is not water, but boiling hot molten lava. Crying can be heard all around, similar to the scene in the terrible unintermittent hell. There is no way for the evil souls to escape, unless they jump into the molten river and try to swim out. However, officers are guarding the hell's exterior. First, let's take a look at the punishment for these souls. A female whose body is black in color has just been transferred from the unintermittent hell to receive punishment here. The Dharma protecting bodhisattvas told me that, under the influence of others, she had doubts about Guanyin Siddha Dharma Door. She had started to badmouth and slander the practice, discouraging others from following it, and claiming that Guanyin Siddha Dharma Door was not true Buddhist teaching. As her deed was pardonable, the time she spent in the unintermittent hell was brief. However, for her abusive speech, she was still required to undergo punishment in this hell. Atop a table to the side are various instruments of torture, saws, hammers, pointed hammers, spears, and others I cannot even name. The enforcement officer looks up to the sky and asks a few questions like what sort of offense she had committed, how long the punishment should be, and whether the punishment would be light or severe. This enforcement officer looks different from those in the unintermittent hell. He is fierce looking with a bigger build, like 2 or 3 people combined together. He has the appearance of an African man with an oversized head. The enforcement officer picks up a hammer and dozens of nails at random, grabs the female soul and places her on a countertop. A rope appears out of nowhere, strapping the soul down. The officer hammers a nail onto the soul's mouth and then repeats the process, one nail after the last. She cries out in pain, tears indistinguishable from blood. An unbearable sight. Suddenly, the thoughts of the soul transmit into my mind. It is so painful. Guanyin Bodhisattva, I know I was wrong. Dharma protective bodhisattvas, please forgive me and let me out of hell. How long do I still have to be tortured? I was influenced by others. Woo! Woo! The soul cried. The scene brings out a stream of tears from the bodhisattva. The scenes of hell 2, those who commit deeds of sexual misconduct, killing, or abusive speech will descend into this hell. This hell is like the hell of burning flame. The sky burns red, but it's not as hot as expected. There are countless souls, some lay on the ground, howling and waiting for the punishment of the souls on the pillars to finish before it's their turn. The Bodhisattvas say that not many people of the human realm believe and abide by the Buddhist precepts these days, and they create a lot of negative karma. The enforcement officers of the hell realm are very busy and need to punish many offenders every day. Let's begin by talking about this hell. There are many pillars planted in the ground, I would estimate about 400 to 500 of them. Below the hell's ground is hot molten lava, explaining why the surface soil feels hot as you tread. The surface of the pillars contain many holes with a large and sharp spike in each one. With a rope, the enforcement officers roughly tie each soul to a pillar. Beside each pillar is a hand wheel. When the officer turns it, the pillar spins and the spikes within protrude out of the holes, penetrating the flesh of the soul until their entire body is impaled. The soul shrieks in immense pain but is unable to escape. Innards and blood ooze slowly from the wounds. It becomes unbearable to watch, reminding me of the bloody scenes of a butcher's market. The officer lets the soul cry. When the punishment time is up, the soul is freed but thrown to the ground as though a chicken or a duck. It is then another soul's turn to receive their punishment. A soul receives this punishment once a day until they have served their time, after which they will be released and sent for rebirth. People who have committed countless deeds of killing and sexual misconduct will descend into this hell. Here, the deeds of killing include animals, as well as abortion, as that is considered murder, especially when the embryo has formed into a fetus and been in the womb for 2 to 3 months. People who commit harsh speech and defamation also descend into this hell. On August 19, 2018, I received a few thought messages about hell. Guan Yin Bodhisattva appears above the altar, together with Gwandi Bodhisattva and Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Heavenly generals and soldiers stand guard in the sky above the Guan Yin Siddha Center, which is glittering with golden light. Knowing I was reluctant to travel to the underworld, Guan Yin Bodhisattva said to me compassionately, "I know you are frightened, but too many people in the human realm are doing evil. I wish you could share your experience to alert practitioners of Guan Yin Siddha Dharma door, cautioning them to heed your master's advice and strictly observe the precepts, so that they will not descend into the 3 deplorable lower realms of existence. I'll let Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva lead you on this trip to hell, so you need not be afraid. As the scenes in hell are too horrifying and gruesome, I have made it clearly known to Guan Yin Bodhisattva that I do not wish to see them again." Soon after, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva opened the passage to hell, and, in a flash, we were there. First, he led me to the hell, where beings who amass wealth dishonestly and defame Buddhism are punished. There exist in the human realm too many bogus monastics and lay practitioners, as well as people who blatantly disregard the law of karma and amass wealth illicitly in the name of Guan Yin Siddha Dharma door and Buddhism, and also those ruthless Buddhists who accumulate wealth in the name of Buddhism and commit karma of speech. It is hoped that they repent to your master as soon as possible, or else these gruesome scenes of hell will await them in future. The hell associated with shedding the Buddha's blood by illicitly amassing wealth and defaming Buddhism. This hell, the size of 7 or 8 soccer fields, is located in a vast and dark cave. There are about 1,000 large and hot pots scattered sporadically throughout. Many offenders are crying, and I can hear the sound do-do-do. Only after a while do I understand what is happening. In the pot closest to me, something is moving. An enforcement officer the size of 2 or 3 people and with green hair, tusks and holding a blunt knife in his hand, violently presses an offender against a stone table. The officer lifts the knife in one hand and hacks off the hands and feet of the offender, throwing them into a boiling pot nearby. Although conscious throughout, the offender's eyes bulge with the immense pain. In the unintermittent hell, the offenders I saw would fall unconscious with pain, but then be woken by the even more immense pain of the lava inside their bodies. Then they would lose consciousness again until the molten lava inside their bodies cool. The enforcement officers would then pour in another round of molten lava. The offenders will not be let out of this hell until the sentence is fully served. In this hell, every offender is conscious. They are simply in so much pain that they cannot speak. Hell is truly terrifying. The enforcement officer goes off and returns with a sharp implement to cut open the offender's stomach and chest and extract the heart. The officer then pulls out the intestines like a rope, placing them on an iron plate to cook with fire before feeding the meal to a hungry nearby hellhound. The black and ferocious-looking hellhound gobbles up the offender's heart, lungs, and intestines in no time. By this stage, the offender is in so much pain that he bites off his own tongue. Fully conscious, and with his eyes bulging and his hands and feet missing, it is truly dreadful. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva said, "Those who are cruel and heartless, those who betray and disrespect their teachers and the teachings, and those who destroy Buddhism, will descend into this hell." Soon after, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva opens up another passage and leads me to the great hell associated with sexual misconduct. The hell of pillars, embracing copper pillars, those who commit sexual misconduct and sexual indulgence will be punished here. In this hell, the air is hot and stuffy. Numerous black copper pillars are planted in the ground. There must be more than 7,000 of them. A foul stench of burnt flesh hangs in the air, and constant screaming can be heard from afar. A male offender is led by 2 enforcement officers in the direction of the pillars. It's so strange, in this hell the offenders show no sign of resistance. They seem to be in some sort of dream-like state, so I'm curious. The Bodhisattva clicked, revealing to me the soul's alaya vijnana, or 8th consciousness, and I realize this soul is perceiving the 2 incredibly ugly and fierce-looking enforcement officers as beautiful, naked women. It is a delusion stemming from the soul's lustful consciousness. Furthermore, to him, the copper pillars look like beds. The sight leaves me dumbfounded. The male soul gladly follows the enforcement officers, ready to embrace the copper pillar. I can see now that the black copper pillar is actually a copper pillar that was heated so extremely that it turned black. When the soul does embrace the pillar, he cries out in extreme agony, as his skin instantly burns to a crisp and becomes stuck to the pillar. His red blood mixes with his roasted flesh, and I hear crackling sounds that remind me of barbecues in the human realm. But this is a living and breathing person's soul that is being barbecued. The sight is completely horrendous. The Bodhisattva then takes me to observe another hell. The great hell of iron bed. People who commit sexual misconduct and sexual indulgence, who lead a promiscuous life or perform abortions, will be punished here. In this hell are thousands upon thousands of iron beds, more than 5,000 at least. They are of different designs, like modern-looking beds, traditional-looking beds, and some inspired by European and American designs. Every man and woman is completely naked and laid out on the bed to receive their punishment. The souls are of various races and color, and attached to each bed is an ID. An enforcement officer leads me to an iron bed with a male soul lying upon it. The officer says, "This soul had promiscuous relationships with over 10 women in the human realm. He was therefore transferred to this hell after completing his punishment in the hell of excrement. After he has served his sentence here, he will be reborn as an animal." I am led to another iron bed, where a female soul bears the agonizing pain. Her hair is a mess, but from her facial features, I can see that she is beautiful, unlike the male offender, who was black all over from the hell of excrement and covered in bite wounds from the worms. Whenever the mind of a soul creates a lustful thought, it triggers the flame lying beneath the iron bed to burn red hot, so that the sharp spikes on the bed's surface become red hot as well. The soul is then left on the bed to suffer. When the lustful thought disappears, the flame burns out. When their punishment time is over, the souls will be released from hell and wait to be reincarnated. This female offender will be reborn as a human in an impoverished country. because her deeds of sexual misconduct were relatively light, an extramarital affair with only one man. People with big sexual appetites living a promiscuous life and casually having affairs in the human realm will all be reborn as animals. At this point, the Bodhisattva asks the enforcement officer to lead me to an elevator. The officer presses the number 1 and the lift ascends. When the lift door opens, I am pushed out by the officer. My consciousness then gradually returns from its deep slumber. Master Jun Hong Lu's reply. Lust and sexual misconduct are animal-like behaviors carried out by humans. Those who commit deeds of sexual misconduct will ultimately be reborn as animals. Descriptions of this type were recorded very early in the history of mankind. Many books and religions have talked about it. Different religions have their own spiritual psychics, who observed what happens and returned to describe it. Why is it the same? Because hell is the same. Why must we properly cultivate our mind? Why are there people who crave self-indulgence, committing themselves and committing deeds of animal-like sexual misconduct? All of it is true. When you are having a nightmare and can't wake up from it, doesn't the experience seem real? When you are in the hell realm as an offender, the experience of being punished will feel the same. When somebody slashes you with a blade in your dream, can't you feel the sensation? Indeed, the pain makes you scream and you wake up. People who commit any sexual misconduct, even having just one extramarital affair, will suffer such a punishment. How many affairs have you had so far? People in the past were honest and faithful to their spouse throughout their lives. How many have you had so far? There is karma already. Why should you properly cultivate your mind? When you have made a great and sincere vow, all the negative karma sowed in the past will gradually be eliminated. That is why I am so worried about you. Do you want to descend and become an offender? It is so filthy. Which animal wears clothes? Do you wear clothes when you are behaving like an animal? People who have committed sexual misconduct with more than 3 people must properly repent for the wrongdoings of the past or, alternatively, prepare to descend. That even includes people who have made defamatory remarks. When we are learning Buddhism, we must observe the precepts strictly and adhere to the disciplinary rules, then constantly cultivate one's mind, recite the sutras and remain diligent. When you do all of this, you can truly eliminate all the negative karma that you created in the past. Otherwise, in which life do you think you will be able to eliminate all of it?